Welcome everybody. Welcome to the 2026 EAC in Charlotte in conjunction with our great country's semi-sesquicentennial. I love this club. I joined in 1980 and as Sheldon said, every true collector gravitates towards early copper. And I picked large cent. Plus I had a background in chemistry, and copper is the least noble element or coinage metal, so it's hard to find good ones until zinc came along and said, hold my beer. But I want to take the opportunity to give something back to the club. And a few years ago at Portland, I mentioned there was a dearth of shows coming up or venues, and I said to Bob I would do one in Charlotte. And just before that, Bill Eckberg had jumped in to do Indianapolis. And then Bob, he wanted to have them lined up like planes coming into a runway. And he says, I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh got COVIDed. So can we do Pittsburgh in 2025 and Charlotte 2026? I said, yes. So we're here. One of the first people I told was an old friend of mine, Mark Borkert. And he said, what were you thinking? So Mark is our host next year. And I want to formally ask him with witnesses, what were you thinking? So I want to thank people for all the guidance and assistance, especially past chairs like Tom Ness, Bill Eckberg, and Bob Keebler. I want to thank Colonel Steve with the help of the security, keeping everything safe. And we're going to hear from Steve tomorrow night. I want everybody to come on the buses tomorrow night. We're going to have a great road trip. So I want to say you can't take it with you. You know you can't take it with you. But for collectors, you can play with it until you go. But something I heard that I thought was kind of profound is something you could take with you is something you leave behind. So one thing I wanted to leave behind is I wanted to run this convention to give back to all my copper friends in this club. And thank you for the opportunity, the trust, and the confidence to give me the task. Thank you. And now, I want to introduce our returning president, Bob Klosterboer, and he's going another 3 years. And I said, how are you doing? What were you thinking? And he said term limits, because he can only run twice. So.
I wanted to welcome everybody here. Really appreciate you coming. As you can see, we've got a great turnout. We've got so many volunteers that make this work, and it's a tireless effort. I know tons of people have been involved. I'm not going to start naming people because I know I'll miss people. But as Jerry said, these conventions don't just happen. They're an act of love, but they're still an act. And so I want to welcome everybody here. I wanted to recognize a couple of people tonight in front of everybody, rather than wait till Sunday morning, because sometimes Sunday morning doesn't happen for everybody that's here. And these two people are, they've come to my attention over the last year, to many other people's attentions that have called me up and said, hey, we ought to do something. And again, I'm not pointing any fingers, but oftentimes when people say we ought to do something, that means we'd really like you to do something. But I do want to recognize a couple of people, and the first person I want to bring up is Harry Salyers. As was noted in our last Pennywise, this was the 40-year anniversary of Harry being our editor and producing that fantastic publication every year for us. And while I'm not a fan of Lifetime Achievement Awards, certainly not in midlife, but it's an anniversary, and I think it's something that we should celebrate. So the second award I want to give is almost on the other end of that spectrum. We have a member that's been a member for a couple of years, but in his time, if not everybody in this room have benefited from some of the work he's done, many of us have, and certainly people that aren't in this room, I want to bring Dan Rice up here. So for those of you that don't know Dan or haven't seen his YouTube channel or many of the other things that he does for the club, he generates content, I think, every other day and puts out there. And it's on every variety of coins. It's half cents, it's hard times tokens, it's Civil War tokens, and certainly it's large cents. He's done some fantastic interviews with, some of our members like Dennis Loring. If you go out there, that interview is on his YouTube channel. It's a fantastic interview with Dennis and some of the contributions he's done. And in a very short period of time, Dan has made a big impact to the club. And so this is in recognition of outstanding contribution in digital content creation and supporting the membership of the club.
Wow. I've been a member of EAC since 1979, but the editor of Pennywise, our quarterly journal, since 1986. So I've been doing that a long time. Pennywise is the totally volunteer organization. People send in articles, send in everything from occasional pieces about some neat coin that I found. We've got one guy who's very good about that, John Trusky, has this amazing ability to spot low-grade and mishandled half cents of extreme rarity and buy them for a song. So we've introduced what we call the rare but not very pretty corner for John's benefit. And got some other people to participate in that as well. So we have that on one hand, but we also have scholarly compendiums of the condition census of multiple early large cent varieties. I think, well, we have an excellent location this year in an enormous bourse room. We've had bourse rooms on occasion over the years where you kind of walk sideways to get down the aisle. It's spacious. We have some dealers from the area. It's not just all we'd call the usual suspects, the usual so-called EAC dealers who specialize in early copper coin, and we see them every year. We look forward to seeing them. But it's also neat to see people from the immediate area.
Sometimes I take my cell phone and put it on a camera mount over my desk in my bedroom and talk to myself, and then put it on the internet, and people seem to enjoy it. We just look at my coins, we look at books. I'm just a collector, I'm not an expert, and I don't present that way, but we learn together, since there's all these fantastic specialty resources that these people that are a long time in the hobby have been good enough to publish for us newcomers to get up to speed quickly. But the books are expensive and inaccessible oftentimes, so I like to be able to show them off to people so they can see what's in the resources that they might not be able to afford, and also see that they should be buying those books because of how valuable they are to what we're doing. Probably one of the more important things I've done was document an important interview with Dennis Loring, all kinds of fantastic advice for collectors of all levels. And so that's one of the more important things I've done. There's been some other great interviews as well, but that one's really a standout. And then if I did one thing that was artistic, Sheldon's Penny Whimsy has got a very great opening few chapters, and it tells a great story. And my father's a retired minister, and he's just a great orator. So he read for me the opening chapters of Penny Whimsy. It's the only video that I don't speak in at all. And then he and my son, in period correct setting, acted out the opening scenes. And perhaps that's the one I would want people to see. And then also the Loring interview and hundreds of other videos of varying importance. But I'm trying to make early copper exciting and accessible to people who might have nowhere else to look but YouTube. They don't have $1,000 of 4 books sitting in front of them they can look at, but I have them, and I can show them what they are and help them learn with me, and then hopefully go out on their own and do better than I am. The YouTube channel is called Dan Talks Sense. I call everyone copper nerds at the beginning of the meeting or the videos, and there's a Facebook group called Copper Nerds that is a great diverse group, not just EACs, and we just love talking about world copper. It's stuff I don't collect. They have a place to talk about what they're into in the world of copper. So it's a more generalist copper group. And so the Facebook group is really fun. That's where we actually get to interact and show each other photos and coins. So Dan Talk Sense is the YouTube channel, Copper Nerds is the Facebook group, and I'd love to see people there.
I'm Bill Eckberg, and I've been an EAC member since 1991. I served 2 terms as the president. I was one of the co-authors of the grading guide that the club put out, and I put out a book on half cents. And right now, mostly I collect information and friends. I think they're doing a great job on the show this year. A lot of people have registered. The bourse seems to be pretty busy. We haven't had any talks yet, but usually those are very well received. And this is the show of the year. I would say that most people that are here would rather be at this show than any other. The ANA isn't as much fun. Fun isn't as much fun. This is just much more fun. This is a great show. It's the people. It's all about the people. We would stab each other in the back to get a particular coin, but we would have a beer together afterwards. We're really all pretty good friends.
I just want to welcome everybody again to our event this night, the Old Mecklenburg Brewery. We had one minor setback. The live group canceled, so they're not going to be playing. But so we'll have to entertain ourselves. And I'm going to have Steve Ellsworth come up and say a couple of things. And Steve made the faux pas or mistake of telling me when his birthday was. Do you know this guy's going to turn 80? This morning? So we've got a birthday boy here. And happy birthday to you. Oh, yes. Steve's going to say a few words for us, and I wanted him to say a few words. He's going to have a couple of fun things to say, but I also wanted to get him up here to roast him just a little bit. He's a buddy. So, here you go.
It all started in Salt Lake City when I was born there on May 1, 1946. And it's one thing getting into 80, but it's a little harder getting out of it. So, you realize that you're not totally bulletproof that you were when you were young. So, looking around our group, it is, we're aging a little bit. So, but we're still upright, we're taking nourishment, so, things look good. I didn't know if they wanted to talk about the war stories on the bourse or at an auction, where there are no friends at any auctions, I've noticed. And I've met some great guys over the years. Some of them are gone now, some of them are still here. But the EAC is a very unique organization. I've never met so many smart people, so many well-educated people, and so nerdy. I mean, we all count identicals on large cents and all that kind of stuff. You talk to somebody who doesn't do this thing, they look at you like, they say the aliens aren't here, but they might have already landed. It's just kind of a unique. That's kind of the deal with the EAC, and it's been a great organization for me, and I still want to be active in it. And during the time the EA supported me, I ended up being president of the ANA, and I refer to that as about 127 years of tradition unhampered by progress. And what happened at one of the board meetings, there were a lot of senior members there, and one of the guys passed out, and the paramedics called, and they picked him up, and they got 3 guys in the ambulance before they got the right guy. So they were pretty senior too, some of their board members.
Hello, my name is Mark Borkart. I am the EAC historian, and I've been a member of EAC since 1973. I brought along with me to the show here some items from the EAC History Archives. This is just a sampling of what I brought with me. I have pretty much a basement full of EAC archive material. Now, this material belongs to the members. It just happens to live in the basement of our house. So, items I brought with me, we have one of the original EAC chapter charters from 1972. Supposedly there are 7 of those that were created. I have 2 of them in the history archives. I have no idea where the other 5 are. I would like to find them. I brought along 3 copies of early copper quotes by Robinson. Those were among the first issues that he produced in the 1980s. I have virtually, or what I believe is a complete set of EAC Convention programs starting in 1979 going up to the current year. And a few other like membership badges, some of these badges from past years going back to 1982. And then finally in this last case, I have a number of different membership tokens. I have some photos from the 1980 EAC Convention and just some miscellaneous trinkets.
We do the EAC auction sale every year, and I love early copper coins. Over the period of time, we'll have a large number of consigners. We might have any of these sales. We'll have 20, 30 consigners. We've had as many as 50 consigners in a sale. Over the years, largely thanks to Lyle Ingleson, he's a really fabulous photographer, and we get really, our catalogs for the EAC sales pretty much will compete with anybody else's, and it's what we love to do. So we'll have, in this year's sale, we have major collections from Terry Denman of middle dates, one of the finest collections, if not the finest collection of middle dates that's ever been put together. A beautiful collection of half cents from Bob Kebler. The duplicates from the Fred Borchert collection, which are in themselves really fabulous coins with a number of die states, pedigrees that stretch back 100 years. So we have, so we love doing the EAC auctions. We have other major auctions that we do, but this is our favorite. I love the beauty of these coins. You know, if I pull out a 1794 large cent here, it's a gorgeous thing. And it has this beautiful picture, not of Martha Washington, but of the goddess Liberty. And the story it has to tell is that these high-grade ones, they came back here. They've been repatriated because tourists came over here and brought these back to England or France, and they had a conversation with a friend and said, "Hey, look at this! These guys, Liberty. They don't have a king. They don't have an emperor. They don't even have a stable government on purpose. And how long will they last?" So the guys in this room are all guys that have bought into that idea of what the absolute physical beauty of these coins, and then the deep meaning that's attached to them.
I collect half cents. I made the decision to sell my collection this year, and I'm selling them through the auction that we have at our convention every year at that point. And I made the decision to do that so the members here have access to the coins, which is where I got many of them, and the auctioneer also donates a significant portion of the sale coins to the club, so it's a benefit to the club as well in that point. And one's a 1793 C1. That's the very first variety of the half cents. It was the second coin that was made from the Federal Mint in that kind of point, and so it's one of the earliest coins that was made, and the first variety is the first of those, so it's just one of the first ones. And it's just a well-traveled, well-worn, well-used coin, but is actually superb condition for that way, so it's just extra special. That's what people have asked. That's my favorite coin, and there's many, many nicer ones, but it's if I had to go back and chase one back later, that'd probably be the first one I'd choose. So,
my name is Matt Mezowitz. I'm a late date large cent collector. I try and collect by Newcomb variety. I try and collect condition census examples, so the finest known for some varieties. And I've been associated with EAC for about 4 years, and so usually I work in the wildlife field and natural resources. I'm usually doing field work in the summers, end of April to July or so, and yeah, so this is my first chance to actually come to an EAC convention. And wonderful people. I think it's much different than any other show that I've ever been to. There's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of you know, no one's really focused on the sales, though, you know, we're obviously at a large sale, but it's all about making connections and meeting folks, and yeah, it's really wonderful.
Show.